You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbit, and today we're going to discuss another song from the self-titled EP, possibly one of the most underrated songs in the Night Demon catalog. This is Ancient Evil. So if you remember April 22nd, 2011, and the band heads into the studio with Armand, John Anthony to record the 4 songs that the band had written over 4 jams. And the result of these recordings was the self-titled Night Demon EP. On that EP, the third track after the title track, Night Demon and the Chalice, is this underrated classic, Ancient Evil. So this song, I don't think it gets enough love, so I'm really looking forward to digging into this one. There's just not enough attention paid to this one, in my opinion. It's a killer track, and it tells a cool story. Here's the members of Night Demon: Jarvis Leatherby, Dusty Squires, and Armand John Anthony.
The lyrics, to me, they always kind of reminded me. I didn't know much of the Cthulhu kind of Necronomicon stuff, besides like the Necronomicon from the Evil Dead series. But I think that was a play off of the Cthulhu thing. Yeah, based off of the Lovecraft stories.
Lyrically, the song was inspired by the writings of H.P. Lovecraft and very Cthulhu-based, or Cthulhu, however you want to pronounce it. When I say it in the song, I pronounce it Cthulhu. But so H.P. Lovecraft, for those who don't know, was an author that was around 100 years ago, or more actually, and a lot of his stuff, really, he didn't really become popular or become famous until after his death, which is very common with a lot of artists, writers, musicians from that time period and before, inventors, the same kind of thing. He did have some stuff published, I believe, in certain magazines like Weird Tales, some of his short stories, but he was mainly a short story author. And after his death, Arkham House, which was a publisher that had started based on his work, had started releasing his stuff. So his popularity became much more into the mainstream after he died. And I think the inspiration for guys like us and where it started in heavy metal was obviously the Metallica song Call of Cthulhu on Ride the Lightning. That instrumental track that came out in 1984. if you look at the cover of Iron Maiden's Live After Death, which was the first Iron Maiden record I ever had, on the tombstone behind Eddie, there's an H.P. Lovecraft quote, which is also, the lyric is also used in a line in the song The Thing That Should Not Be from Metallica's Master of Puppets album. And the line goes something about that cannot which eternal lie, that with strange eons even death may die. So a lot of the Lovecraft writing is very hard to interpret because of the style of English that he spoke back then, this olden style of, I don't know what you would call it, the Queen's English, or just using a lot of terms that we wouldn't use today. And a lot of great literary geniuses, they have a very expanded vocabulary as is. They use big words and they sound smart because they are smart. But it's funny. I even have a book of it's like a Lovecraft dictionary. So it's almost like when you read his stories, you can if you don't know what a word means, occasionally you can go to this dictionary and find it in there. There's a you can start to learn the lingo that he speaks in. But many of his short stories have been adapted into films, and they've been used. They were introduced to me through heavy metal like this. So like with the things that I had just mentioned. But when I was young and I was really into metal, I would go to the video store when the home video boom happened. And I would see movies like H.P. Lovecraft's The Unnameable. And in the episodes that we covered about my first band, Black Opal, I had even then written a song called The Unnameable about that movie because I loved it so much. Or you would see H.P. Lovecraft's Reanimator. And, anytime I saw his name there, I would pick that stuff up. But so I hadn't really had access to the books or the stories at the time. And I can't remember if a lot of us thought that H.P. Lovecraft was maybe a current writer or a director or a filmmaker. I mean, we weren't really sure, but we read in like certain interviews that Cliff Burton from Metallica had loved his short stories and stuff. And so it went on to movies like Castle Freak and a lot of the Stuart Gordon created films, centered around these H.P. Lovecraft stories that were expanded. Or like, I was always into shows like Tales from the Crypt and a lot of those episodes, or Tales from the Dark Side, that, it's somewhat inspired by these Lovecraft short stories. And so when I started to read this stuff, even though it was a bit difficult to understand at first, I would read them over and over again. And the cool thing is that a short story is really great for a short attention span. So anybody these days, because we all have short attention spans now with technology, you could get H.P. Lovecraft's entire works, I believe, for free online through your app on your phone, whatever book app you have, or an Amazon Kindle or iBooks. I know that they do have this. It's almost like, you can buy a lot of books out there, There's a lot of compilations that Arkham House has put out, but it's almost like the stuff is so old. It's like public domain. But I mean, it's just great to have access to all this. And so to basically sum up H.P. Lovecraft's writings, he really described a lot of terror, a lot of inner turmoil and terror within one's mind. And, he had these mythical beasts that he created in his stories, like Cthulhu, which is, this big, huge monster that comes out of the water, or an amphibious creature, which he had many of those, and just so many different types of supernatural creatures and even grotesque humanesque things as well. But really, the genius behind his writing is that, a lot of times using big words, I mean, he would even make words up. And he would describe a kind of a horror or a kind of a terror upon seeing some of these higher beings in his stories, where a human being would actually just go mad. They would just go crazy because they couldn't handle it. And some of the creatures, well, let me just say that through the years, many artists have drawn what they thought these creatures looked like. There were not illustrations when he was writing these stories. So he describes them somewhat in these stories, but most of them are so horrific that they can't even be described in not just the English language, but just in the human language. Like you can't. They're so hideous you can't describe them. It's almost like the opposite of seeing God. They say if you see God, the light is so bright you'll never see him, or it's just the silence it's so quiet it's deafening. Things like this, and for in a literary sense, this is the stuff of genius. This is the stuff that you're reading, and because when you read, you're painting images in your head. So when you read something like this, it takes you at a crossroads of what am I seeing, what am I hearing, what am I experiencing, and it's a trip. It's a total trip. But I highly recommend H.P. Lovecraft's work. I actually visited his hometown of Providence, Rhode Island, and went on a walking tour and visited a lot of places that he lived and that he wrote at, and places that he wrote these stories, and the places he used to hang out, and the graveyard he used to hang out at. And, he worshiped Edgar Allan Poe, who was who came, before him, and who was gone by the time he was writing, obviously. And what I really love about Lovecraft, and what I can relate to the most, and the inspiration that I've taken the most, and that this band has taken the most from Lovecraft, is that he had a lot of things in his stories, a lot of things based around architecture and based around his town, based around Providence, Rhode Island at the time, and things around New England. And he would create these fictitious names and fictitious places based on real physical locations that he lived near. So, like, the Miskatonic University appears in a lot of his stories, and that's based on Brown University. That's out there. The Arkham Asylum in Arkham, Massachusetts. The list goes on and on. But Night Demon has done many of the same things by putting Ventura City Hall on the cover of Darkness Remains. We've gotten into some stuff with Cemetery Park here in Ventura. So in Ventura, it's the same thing. I mean, we take these geographical locations and create these fictitious stories about them. But really, I mean, even with Night Demon, some of the stuff is based on real stuff, real history. we've covered in other podcast episodes talking about the song Hallowed Ground and talking about the controversy at City Hall here and how the town was founded and Father Sarah and the church getting involved and the raping and pillaging of the natives, that building and Cemetery Park, all this stuff being built on Indian burial ground. So there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of controversy. And that also comes with urban legends and myths and ghost stories. And it's so heavy metal. And what can I say? That's what we love. So let's get into the lyrics, and I will explain a little bit more about the Lovecraft influence in this song. So the first line of the song, long ago in a distant land, lived a crazy Arab man. Cross his path, it's likely you'd be dead.
Long ago in a distant land lived a crazy Arab man. Cross his path, it's likely you'd be dead.
In H.P. Lovecraft stories, many will recognize this and not know that it was inspired by Lovecraft, but the Necronomicon shows up in a lot of his work. And the Necronomicon is a book of the dead. So it's said that it's an old book that's actually bound in human flesh that contains ancient Sumerian text, that it's basically the Dark Bible, and it's got spells and it's got all kinds of stuff in there from the ancient Sumerians, which is known to be basically the first civilization. And it was written by a mad Arab who was mad. He uses the term mad a lot, crazy, insane. So that's the reference to that in the first line. Back in the second line here, much to what I was saying before, he wrote a book bound in human flesh, told the secrets of Sumerian death. The Crimson Desert is where he laid his head.
He wrote a book bound in human flesh, told the secrets of Sumerian death. The Crimson Desert is where he laid his head.
So imagine this insane Arab just being channeled by the gods, just roaming this red hot desert and walking with the dead and being an immortal of sorts. Then we have the pre-choruses. Can you hear Cthulhu's call? High priest to the great old ones. Monsters of death, one and all. Satan's work will be done.
Now can you hear Cthulhu's call? High priest to the great old ones. Monsters of death, one and all. Satan's work shall be done.
The great old ones. Lovecraft referred to these mythical beasts as the great old ones, that there were these creatures that were so old, not older than the earth, or possibly even older than the earth, and they were from other places in the universe, but just huge giant creatures that were so old, they not only lived in the sea, they lived under the sea. So they lived like underneath the surface of the ocean. And when Cthulhu would emerge, it would just create this big, huge vacuum in this big gaping hole underneath the sea where the water would suck through it. This creature would emerge larger than we can ever even comprehend. But the great old ones, these creatures, they knew all. They knew everything. And if you think about the wonders of the world that we have now, or the pyramids and stuff like this, all these stone circles and these stone monuments, these ancient tombs, it's like, how did this stuff get there, right? I mean, I know we've all watched Ancient Aliens and stuff, but there's something to that shit. How did this stuff get here? There's, you can't lift the blocks of the pyramid with even modern machinery today. You just can't do it. How did that happen back then? What intelligence was around? The great old ones had this intelligence, and they're still here, according to Lovecraft. And there are just things that just because we can't see with our own eyes, it doesn't mean that that other dimension doesn't live around us. The chorus, very simple ancient evil, right? In a chorus, you just say the words. Actually, and the title of the song, ancient evil, that's what it is. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's what Lovecraft's writing is about. It's about ancient evil from ancient times.
Ancient evil. Ancient evil.
Getting into the second verse here. No one knows of the madness inside. To find the answers, you must truly die. Darkness lurks deep in the heart of man.
No one knows of the madness inside. To find the answers, you must truly die. Darkness lurks deep in the heart of man.
The answer's in the Necronomicon. The grimoire promises a new dawn. Embrace its power if you can.
The answer's in the Necronomicon. The grimoire promises a new dawn. Embrace its power if you can.
So I'm just kind of riffing on the same old stuff and the same story. It's basically a more of an explanation and a continuation of the first verse that I kind of already explained. But, the grimoire being the Book of the Dead and the New Dawn, I've kind of was taken from Aleister Crowley on that and being inspired by the Golden Dawn, and thought, well, if Crowley brought in the Golden Dawn, then I would definitely think that Lovecraft was the New Dawn. And then back to another pre-chorus into the chorus.
Can you hear Cthulhu's call? High priest to the great old ones, monsters of death, one and all. Satan's work shall be done.
When I say Satan's work will be done, I think at that point, like Lovecraft had nothing to do with the devil as Satan. His devils were much more scarier, but I think just being in the writing process of being in a new heavy metal band, and we didn't have the song Satan yet, I had to have a lyric about Satan somewhere in there. I mean, we were always just fascinated growing up during the satanic panic. When that stuff was happening, we knew it was bullshit, and we were attracted to that as kids. So that's kind of like a romantic period for us in our growing up. So just being here in a heavy metal band, I had to use the term Satan, and it totally lended itself here in the pre-chorus of this song.
Ancient evil.
Ancient Evil tells a story. It definitely has its place in what we do.
I think they're cool. I think they're really good. Anything about ancient stuff for me is always a winner. So I applaud that one. Jarvis?
So lyrically, we have great subject matter for a metal song. Pretty cool lyrics in there. Maybe a little overlooked lyrics in this one. But aside from the lyrics, the song just sonically kicks ass. And part of what grabbed me right off the bat with this song was that chugging guitar riff.
The main riff for Ancient Evil, I wrote at my job that I had at the time. I had a job in the valley. It was an hour drive at least each way, 5 days a week. And it was just a miserable existence for me. I was dying, and I was working in the music industry, but I was helping basically other musicians accomplish their dreams and none of mine. So, to this day, I have a management company and I manage some great bands, and I have a record label that I put out some great records. So I love helping bands and other musicians accomplish their dreams. Yes. But I love doing it more so when my personal goals and dreams in life are fulfilled. And I can do that better for other bands when I've covered my own bases. And I highly recommend that for everybody out there. You can do much better for people when you do good by yourself first. And I think there's a stigma out there that, you know, it's greedy or selfish or wrong to be doing a lot of things for yourself, and you know, you should be helping other people. Well, truth be told, the best way you can help other people in this world is to do everything you can for yourself first, and to make sure that you're happy and you're satisfied. So once you can do that, you can help other people in a lot more ways than you think. That's the truth of the matter. So I digress. Back to this song. It's another song, much like The Chalice, that I wrote at this job. On my lunch breaks, I would just pick up a guitar and play. I had an hour where I got to close the office, and that's what I would do. I would just jam. And since Night Demon had just started playing, I was heavily inspired to just write whatever heavy metal riffs came to my mind. There was no pressure on us at all at the time. So it didn't have to be anything groundbreaking. In my mind, it was just like, okay, here's a heavy metal riff. And that's how Ancient Evil came out, with that first riff. And I believe, much like The Chalice, I wrote this entire song in one sitting, musically at least. And, you know, it's not very complex, but I thought that we needed another song in the key of E. And, well, it's actually E flat because the band tunes down a half step. But I brought the riffs to the band, and I had the song completed, and it went pretty well. It went pretty smooth and easy. And I thought that it added, you know, I mean, we started out when we had the song Night Demon, and that was a very up-tempo rocker. And then The Chalice really brought it down and brought it back. And this kind of met in the middle of those two.
So the riff for Ancient Evil. Yeah, this is a fun one. I would have to say that this is, I think, my favorite one out of the bunch, out of the EP songs. It's got that good chuggy kind of thing, you know? So the riff, you know, it's just a kind of some moving chords with some really nice, cool, tight chugging, just down picking, you know, balls of the wall, kind of just heavy and hard and fast and going for it, you know? And then the verse, you know, it just kind of opens up with some chords, just laying some beds down for the lyrics. And then back to that chuggy riff again in the chorus. So yeah, it's a fun one to play. I mean, if you're a guitar player, I mean, there's nothing more fun than just writing on an open E string with a good tight palm mute. It just, there's something about it that just feels so good. It just pumps, and it just rocks.
Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you'd like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearth live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber. And join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass. It's funny listening to this song, something kind of occurred to me. So this is my favorite song on the EP out of the 4. And it's kind of similar in a way to my all-time favorite Night Demon song, The Howling Man. Clearly different, but they both sort of have that chugging sound in the background of the main riff. And the two songs, they do it in different ways, but there's sort of a similarity there, the way the songs both sort of have that chug driving the song forward with a bit of guitar melody over it. So maybe that's why I'm drawn to both songs so much. The Howling Man is a different beast from this one entirely, but they do kind of, remind me of each other. I do find it strange to me that people tend to describe Ancient Evil as sort of simple. I think even Jarvis used that word to describe it earlier. But there's a lot going on here if you pay closer attention, and I don't think it's as simple as, people tend to think of it. This song is full of cool little guitar transitions.
Yeah, all the little transitions and stuff are a good way to get in and out of the parts, that are a little more basic, like the verse parts, just ringing the chords out over the vocals it just keeps it interesting. That's all. Little things, they're not huge, but in a way they are, because without them, I think it would be a little more boring.
Can you hear Cthulhu's call? High priest to the great old world. Monsters of death, one and all. Satan's work shall be done. Ancient evil.
Yeah, the little transition before the chorus is cool. It's one of those things, again, that took me a while. I was playing it wrong for the longest time. I think we were both kind of playing it wrong for a good while until we kind of stopped and got into the detail of it and listened to it again and worked on it together, me and Jarvis, and then we finally, got back to what it really is. You got to remember, you play these songs so much, but at the same time, sometimes for whatever reason, you just end up playing things a little bit differently than the recording. Usually the recording, for a lot of bands, it, solidifies the parts. It's like, hey, this is how it goes and that's it. It's recorded that way, so that's it from now on, If there was a fluke during the recording and the part, came out of, was inspired from something and just kind of came out and was like improvised, then I think you got to stick to that. So that's kind of one of those parts for me.
The middle of the song or the bridge section going into the solo, I really, really like this part. And it's very kind of Iron Maiden-ish to me. Hey, what a surprise, right? Metallica, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath in the same conversation as a Night Demon song. I guess we're pretty transparent by now, right? So, but when with that buildup, when I had that little tail riff at the end, it's like I wanted to. It's kind of a bluesy riff, but it's pretty cool. It's kind of like, I'm not going to compare it to anything because like the 3 bands I mentioned, it's a kind of a mix between something those 3 bands would do.
Yeah, I think the middle part is just a cool little transition to pick up the pace of the chords a little bit, just to help bridge it into the solo. And that little run is a pretty bluesy, kind of basic kind of blues run, which is something that we try to shy away from for the most part, but sometimes they just work,
The bridge is unique. We never really have done anything like that in the bridge before or after. It's
simple and it just sounds good and it works, but you You can't rely on those kind of things all the time. So it's good to just save them for the right times and the right parts.
It's pretty cool how he did that and how the drums kind of follow that.
Well, Ancient Evil, I even think that when the EP was recorded, I don't think that they were rehearsing Ancient Evil all that fast.
Ancient evil. Ancient evil.
When Pat got in the studio, he kind of sped Ancient Evil up. And, you know, I think that's what gives it its flavor. Out of those songs on that, Ancient Evil is more on the downbeat, but still has that intensity. The 16th notes on the hi-hat are really intense. It's a driving song. You have to be on point. Everything relies on all of us locking in and playing that song right.
There was one part that I listened to after we were kind of like done recording the EP, and I was like, holy shit, man, the guitar is totally out of tune right there. And to this day, I don't even know. It's been a little cringeworthy for me, and I don't know if it's actually the guitar or the bass is out of tune, but I know that we are not hitting the wrong note. Maybe we pulled a note slightly out of tune. But I just think, you know, we had to leave it. We had to let it be because, again, the vibe that we were going for and trying to make an EP that would have been recorded in 79 or 80, that's what would have happened. You know, you might have had an out-of-tune note. You might have had a kind of mistake there. And so we left it. It made it pure and it sounded good. It sounded 1980 out of tune, honestly. So, but then it kicks into the guitar solo, and I just love the guitar solo. And I think Brent used his Phase 90 on that, which Eddie Van Halen used on all of his solos. It's like, and on the slower speed, it's like a slow swooshing thing. So it's almost like, think of like a wah pedal slowly going up and down as you're playing faster notes. It really adds a lot of dimension to it. Very short guitar solo, but it gets the point across and it gets us right back into that chorus.
As far as the solo goes, yeah, I kind of keep it pretty close to the original for the most part, until like the end. I always felt like the end of that solo was a little bit weak or a little anticlimactic, I guess. So I just put my own little spin on that to just give it some new life, you know? That's the thing, you know, I'm in this band as a full-fledged member. You know, there's going to be little things like that. I just feel like I'm almost in a way, you know, take those old songs and I make them mine with those little things, you know. I don't want to take away from the integrity of it and what people are used to hearing, but I also want to give them a little extra and be like, hey, you know, this is a song you like, but here's my little interpretation of it. Like now, you know, you have the live record and then you have the recorded versions. And, you know, what's the point of having a live record and you know, if it's going to sound exactly like the recording? For me, that's what I loved about live recordings. You know, being a huge fan of like Hendrix and stuff, you know, there was a lot of improvisation with him. You know, the record's always going to be there. And of course, he would always do the parts that are recognizable that you're going to want to hear. But then he would also extend things or, you know, go off on whatever he felt that night. And I kind of view myself, or I came from that school of thought, you know. So that's just what I do. And I think it's exciting. It's a lot of times in the new way of things, everything's so programmed and just repeated, you know, especially when bands are using tracks and doing that kind of thing live. You know, you can't, there's no room for that. There's no room for improv, you know. That's what I want to see live. You know, I like going and seeing bands that, you know, I love seeing bands multiple nights in a row, you know, just for the fact of like, well, what are they going to do in this song? Or what song are they going to play tonight? Or, you know, is this solo going to be, you know, the normal solo like on the record, or are they going to take it to another level? Like, that's the exciting shit about seeing the band live. So I hope we can give that to our fans, and I hope that they can appreciate that.
This track actually goes over very well live, and I'm surprised we haven't played it more. Honestly, this song has been played the least amount of times off of all 4 songs on the Night Demon debut EP. I would say, I mean, the other 3 songs, Night Demon, The Chalice, and Ritual, are played during most sets, honestly. And I don't know why. I think I always kind of thought that this song was the worst of the 4 and just kind of a little maybe generic and too straightforward. But a lot of people always ask for it. And there's actually a lot of people that come and say it's their favorite song.
Hey, this is Kit Ekman. I'm here to talk about Ancient Evil, perhaps my favorite Night Demon track ever. What makes it special? Well, you know, there are a few things. One, that main riff. It is just galloping, glorious perfection. It's my favorite riff on the EP and definitely one of my favorite Night Demon riffs of all time. It just gets you right in the heart, right in the chest every single time you hear it. 2, the lyrics. It's more of a storytelling approach than Night Demon normally uses, but that's what makes it stand out. There's this whole H.P. Lovecraft connection, and then just the damn cool, evil, mysterious lyrics. I mean, singing about a book bound in human flesh, telling secrets of Sumerian death, and the answers lying in the Necronomicon. I mean, how killer is that? 3, there's the ending. At the end of the song, there's this big, giant crescendo that the band milks for, 30, 40 seconds. It sounds like the end of a Manowar song. It just screams, metal! I love it. 4th, the live version goes at warp speed. It's like twice as fast as the studio version, and it just turns into this relentless, sweaty monster on stage, just this killer speed workout. 5th, and this may be most important in my book, it's a deep cut. You won't often hear Night Demon pull out Ancient Evil at a live show. It's far and away the least likely song you'll hear from the EP. You know, Night Demon plays the bulk of their catalog at a lot of their headlining shows, but Ancient Evil, it's in that category of a song like Run for Your Life or Living Dangerous or On Your Own. You'll only get to hear it on a rare occasion, and that makes it special. Of the Night Demon deep cuts, it's far and away my favorite. Some nights, when I'm lucky, the guys might ask me for a little input on the set list, and whenever they do, I always put in a plug for Ancient Evil. It always puts a smile on my face, and it's going to be near and dear to my heart forever. So, yeah, I'm going to go listen to Ancient Evil now.
I think people are excited when we play that one live, especially because we don't play it as much, so it's always a treat when we do pull it out.
So, I mean, the whole Night Demon EP is classic. There's really no reason, unless we're playing a shorter support slot, that we can't really add all of these songs into our set. But I think Ancient Evil is going to make a strong comeback. I'm really happy that we ended up putting this song on the live record. And this song does go over well live, and it's definitely a lot faster live. If you listen to the demo version, when we demoed the song, when I first brought it into the guys, I think it was a lot slower because, I mean, who knows? We were learning the song at the time. But I think off of all of the songs that were demoed for the EP and then recorded, this song changed the most. Not structure-wise, but just the feel, the tempo, the energy. And I'm really glad that happened, and it didn't happen at a later date. So it happened at the right time. So what you hear on that first EP definitely has a good tempo, even though, live with Dusty Squires behind the drums and at a Night Demon show, that one is going to rage on pretty fast.
I think I probably play it faster live. That's just the nature of the beast, but, it's Ancient Evil. It's fucking dark and dirty.
One of the really cool things that I love about playing this song live is when we do it in a block of 3 specific songs. So usually when we cover the Riot song Road Racin', it kind of has the same pushes as Ancient Evil. In Ancient Evil, it's the and Riot. So it kind of has those same punches, and we're like, wow, this is great. These really go together. And so how it started was, if we ever had a set list where those 2 songs were in it, I would try and space them out as far as we could. So usually when we write a set list, I kind of look down them all and play them in my head to kind of go, okay, are these songs in the same key? Is there too much E going on? Or is there 4 songs in the same key in a row? It's like, we need some diversity to kind of mix it up. So when I noticed that, oh wow, there's these kind of punches that are the same in the song Road Racin' and the song Ancient Evil, I would split them apart so far where it would be like, okay, Ancient Evil's like second to last, Road Racin' is like the second song of the set or the first song of the set, the opener. But after a while, we just said, wow, that flow doesn't really work. So let's combine this into a block of songs where we can have some live segues that really kick ass. So what we did was we took Road Racin' into Ancient Evil into the song Satan off Curse of the Damned. And that block of songs is incredible. So what we do at the end of Road Racin', the song basically ends, like that's the Night Demon version. So what we would do is we'd play it live and go, and ring that part out, and Dustin would just keep playing a solid beat on the drums, and then we would ring that note out and just let it hang and get some feedback. And I would go up to the mic at a certain point and say, Ancient Evil. And then Dustin would go into this really quick snare fill, and we would mute the guitar and the bass right there, and then come right in and start the song right there. So it's great. So it's almost like a jammy interlude part. We never stop at all between Road Racin' and Ancient Evil. Then when we get to the end of Ancient Evil, there's those big hits where it's a big dramatic ending of the song. And right when you think it's going to be a big dramatic ending and it's going to end, no, we pause and then we go to from E to D, and then another big dramatic ending. And then you think it's going to end. No, we do it again, back to E. So it's epic like that on the recording, but live, we even take it a step further. And then we do all these huge hits where, man, Dustin's just hitting the cymbals so hard, and Armand and I are just hitting these open E power chords, just like bam, 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 bam. And we're just like, that's the part of the set where we're just basically like tearing the strings off of our fucking guitars and just swinging our guitars around. There's so much power there. And then that rings out. And then I call out the song Satan. And as the guitars are ringing out, Dustin counts it off and we go into that. So I mean, lyrically, those songs, Ancient Evil and Satan, go together. Musically, all those three songs are in the key of E flat. And, you know, like I mentioned, it's an awesome, awesome block of the Night Demon set when we pull it out.
When we're doing the live version of Ancient Evil, we like to, you know, do the normal outro that's the same on the EP, but we break it up into these big, powerful hits, and then Jarvis does this walk up, you know, thing on the bass that I follow, and then big old tom hit on the last one, and then one big loud crash. And then we just let it ring out. And then we go right into Satan. Those two songs are very similar as far as the 16th notes on the hi-hat, the placement of the snare. They go nice back to back, even though they're pretty similar. You know, it's Ancient Evil. It's an important song as far as the Night Demon discography goes. It's a fun one to play.
This one goes over live really well, I think. I think seems to be another fan favorite. Or maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I definitely love playing this song live. It's fun.
It really came out to be a great song. We got to bring this one back live.
So that's it for Ancient Evil. It's track number 3 on the self-titled Night Demon EP. And as always, I'll remind you that if you're digging these episodes where we break down the songs, you can listen to the full demos, the isolated tracks, on nightdemon.net in the bonus section. This one is especially great to hear how the demo really evolved into the song that it is today. Again, the bonus section, after a year of doing this podcast, there's so much content in there, I won't even try to describe it. So check it out on nightdemon.net. It's pretty cool. Until next time, this is Nesbitt signing off.
Ancient evil. Ancient evil. Ancient evil. Ancient evil.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.